Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll take a roll call to start. Ben?
Here.
Roy?
Here.
Myself, and that's about it. Michelle and is gone, okay. Discussion on the 2019 proposal budget.
Okay, well, everybody got their packets. In your packet is the proposed levy certification, which you have to address at the September meeting. And then attached to it was the revenue, proposed revenue budget and the proposed expenditures. This is only the revenue and expenditures that affect the levy. So this doesn't include any of the enterprise funds or anything else, or the fire department. So this is only the ones that affect the levy. The rest will all be when we do the budget in November for the December meeting. We'll include all the rest. So the three of us sat down, went through for our expenditures to see what it was, what we thought we needed to spend for this year, or how much we needed for repairs. If you actually look at this proposed levy, the difference between last year and this year is $112,000 increase, which is right around a 10% increase. This was generally what we do for the preliminary levy, because you can always go down, but you can't go up for the final. So a lot of times we come in at about 10% higher than last year. So out of the $112,000, if you look at the capital improvement line, which is like the fourth line down, you'll see we put $200,000 in there for the levy versus $100,000 last year. So that is basically the increase from last year to this year, is just in the capital improvement. Part of that is to cover the Highway 25 project, because they're not sure if what we have budgeted over the last couple years is going to cover the expense of the appraisals. I mean, the expense of purchasing the easement. The appraisals, I think, are coming in a little bit higher. And also, Wayne is looking at working with Wank, because Emerson Avenue North, if you notice when you turn on it by the ballpark, it's wider. Then it gets real narrow by the condominiums, and then it widens again. So we're looking at fixing that section of the road, because it keeps breaking all up. And rather than just resurfacing it constantly, it needs to be done and put curb and gutter in it, like what's there, the rest of the road. So that's basically the extra $100,000. Is so we can fix Emerson Avenue and make sure we have money for the Highway 25 project.
Is the Highway 25 project, though, wasn't MnDOT supposed to reimburse us for that?
So the Highway 25 project is about a $950,000 project. $300,000 of that will be from our enterprise funds, because that's the water and sewer lines that we're going to replace. Because that's an old section that, remember when we did County Road 12, we went so far and then stopped on 25? And then with the new stuff that's down just beyond you, so that little tiny section there still has all the old water and sewer lines. So $300,000 will come from our enterprise funds. $350,000 will come from MnDOT. So that leaves about $300,000 or so for the city of Montrose to cover. And that we thought would be enough to purchase all the right-of-way, pay for the walking trail, anything else that we had to cover. But they're not sure now with the appraisals, with what they're coming in at. We're not sure if that amount that we had originally budgeted is going to be enough to purchase all of the land that we need to purchase for the walking trail. Because MnDOT's coming back now with a couple other, I don't know, regulations. I don't know how else to say it, as to where the trail can be. Remember when he said something about having by the hill there or something, and so we're not quite sure.
Wendy, what's the average in terms of difference between what you thought it was coming in at and what it's coming in at from an appraisal standpoint?
Well, we don't really know yet what it's going to come in at. We haven't gotten the appraisals back.
They don't share that with us because that's confidential.
I see.
Yes, but when we told them what we had budgeted, they weren't sure that was going to be enough.
Okay, I got you.
So.
Deb, did you apply for a grant too to help pay for the walkway there?
We did not apply for a grant, no.
I think Justin had when he was still doing it, and I think we were turned down.
Yes.
Yeah, we
that's
were originally turned down, but
Yep.
I thought that we had a meeting here a couple months ago, and I thought that gal said we could probably reapply.
That's a different grant. That's the regional park grant to reapply.
Yeah, we
Right.
applied,
Yes.
for that one again. I meet with
Yes,
them
that's a
this
two
fall.
Separate,
Yeah.
yes.
The one we were trying to get out there, I think, was the Safe Routes to School, and we got denied because we had that one that went all the way out towards the west side, and so, not that long ago, so I think we were denied. The other thing on that part two was that we were looking at the franchise fees that we had started, and remember when Dale was still here, he brought it to the council and he passed those ordinances, but in his ordinances, he had wrong dates and had some things screwed up in it, so we had to rescind those ordinances. And we haven't, now, we're going to get back to them now again in September and see if we can't get them implemented, like, say, by January. But that was gonna be a portion of paying for that project too, was we originally thought we'd have franchise fees coming in that we could help pay for it, but we don't have any yet, because we had to backtrack and now start over again,
And
yeah.
we have started that process with
Yep.
our current city attorney,
Yep.
Wendy and I, so it shouldn't be long to get that going again.
Hopefully we get all the public meetings and stuff in that need to be done before, and get them started like January 1st.
And Lloyd, I can look into that grant
Yeah,
again, see,
because,
I can check
I
with,
thought that, I forget that gal's name that was here that time that we,
I'll check with Sean.
yeah, and I thought, when I asked her, she said, well, you could reapply again for.
Right. So pretty, like I said, pretty much the difference, the $100,000 difference, isn't that what Wank thought
No.
would be, well, for Emerson would be like 100,000? Maybe between 85 and 100,000. So that was
Come back
why,
here and sit down.
that was why we added the extra 100,000, was to cover Emerson Avenue and not run ourselves short using the funds we have now when we might need them for Highway 25. So we put the 100,000 in to fix Emerson, basically. So I don't know if anybody had a chance to review the revenue or the expenditures, if anybody has any questions on it. There's not a whole lot of difference between this year and last year.
Did they change the calculation on the LGA? I noticed that was a smaller amount.
No, it's actually a large amount. We got $800 more than we got last year. If you go all the way to the bottom of the page where it says LGA total, we just dispersed it a little bit different in our funds.
Okay.
We put more into our capital improvement because we didn't need it really in the general fund, so we're trying to back it off out of the general fund a little bit. And put it in our capital improvement to start building up that fund.
And then we only allow 50,000 for the park.
That's all we put in there for now, because we thought 10,000 for the regional park to cover any expenses that may occur that, you know, with keeping stuff going out there, I shouldn't say going, but maintaining it. And then the other 40,000 is to offset the actual park fund itself, so we didn't have to levy so much for it. So the difference between last year and this year is only $3,000, you know, in the park fund. The difference in our general fund is about $9,000. And that's because we dispersed some of the LGA a little bit differently, so. So like I said, basically the $112,000, $100,000 of it is in the capital improvement fund.
You want to take those?
No, go ahead. You guys are going, that's fine.
Any other questions?
I didn't see any escrow deposit. Did the builder decide not to do the preserve, or have they just not moved forward on that yet?
That doesn't show up in here.
Okay.
For those of you that are visiting, this is just for the general fund. This isn't for any of the other funds. That isn't required to be done until the end of the year. The general fund is required to be done now.
Right, so you have to come in with a preliminary levy by October 1st, has to be the county. So at our September meeting, we'll have to do it. And it just, like Deb said, it's basically the general fund, and then if you have any debt service that you levy for. And the general fund, we split our parks out of in our community center out of our general fund, but they're still kind of considered part of a general fund. So it's not the enterprise funds. Enterprise funds are water, sewer, garbage, wastewater. Those are the enterprise funds. And they have to be self-sufficient. They are not levied for. They have to pretty much stand on their own. They have to be run like a business. So they're not included in the levy itself.
And your bond payments are in here because that obviously has to be part of your levy that you certified to the state, so.
So yeah, whatever's not paid out of the enterprise funds will be on the levy itself, which is the debt service line.
Wayne, have you heard anything more about the lights along the path on Highway 12?
They're coming in.
They're coming in,
Yeah.
they've got them in order.
Yeah, everything's ordered,
Rigged up.
and the engineer's working with the state on the permits to place them.
You see, they've been ordered for quite a while already. just
Yeah, right.
taking
They
up
said
your
8 weeks to get them, so they should be here
Okay.
another month or so.
And then that will come out of this year's budget.
That'll come out of 2018.
Yeah,
Yep,
2018.
yep, that was all part of
Okay,
2018.
yeah.
It's already done.
Okay, anything else on that?
And if you go home and you see something that you might have a question on, any of you, feel free to either come in and see Wendy and I, or give us a call and we can,
I did miss that. What's the 149,000 for the parks again? I came right in on that. I was just noticing this. Is that, I mean, are we putting more parks in?
So we have a park fund, which is, it pays for part of the wages for the people that work in the parks, buys all the chemicals for, the lawnmowers. So we have an actual park fund itself, and then we have a park development fund. So if you look in here, like under this long one, this expenditure thing, and you go to the 230 fund, it says Parks and Recreation. That's sort of, kind of like, I guess you consider it kind of like a checkbook for the park fund, to maintain all the parks we have. So it pays the people that, and not just the park kids that mow all summer long, but some of our public works people are paid out of parks. A portion of their wage, I should say, comes out of parks. So it's split up. But it covers maintaining the parks themselves. So like $139,525 is to maintain the park itself. $10,000 is for the regional park, just to, for maintenance on the park, if there's anything more out there we have to do, or.
Wayne, what did Nathan say about redoing any of that stuff out there?
Out there, they won't,
They won't.
no, they won't do anything.
You said it was kind of coming in pretty good.
It's coming in fairly well. I mean, it's better than it was.
It looks a lot better too since we cut it.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Anybody see anything else that questions on?
On the recreation programs, Wendy,
Yeah.
are we getting a bill still for Spark?
Yeah. Oh, I haven't gotten one this year. Is there a
Okay.
program?
I don't think so, that's what I'm asking.
Well, I haven't gotten
seen it.
anything, so
Okay.
I don't usually get it until the end of the year.
Because they had advertised it and everything, but then I haven't seen nothing going on over
Then
there.
I probably won't get billed.
Okay.
It took them, I got the open gym bill for 2017 and 2018. Or for 2016, 17, and part of 18 I got, I think it was.
Yeah.
All at one time, so they're not real fast.
Right.
Spark, they usually don't bill me till like the end of the year, or even January.
Okay.
But,
Yeah,
so
I don't think I can have
I'll wait
it.
and see if I get one. I will question them on it.
Okay.
And that comes out of that recreational program fund.
Yeah.
Do we have anything for capital improvements for like expanding trails or any more lighting projects and stuff under park and development, or is it just kind of that lump 10 grand for?
Now, the 10 grand was actually just to cover some excess stuff in the region, in the regional park.
I just know if there was a separate one, or if we had, if there was anything in this budget for any other capital.
I think in the 2019 capital improvement fund itself, in the capital improvement plan that we had, Sean had, the only thing for 2019 for parks that we had put in there was regarding the trail between when it comes off of County Road 12 and goes behind the homes on Mindy Lane, then it ends at Emerson. and then you can't get to Thorson Park because there's no trail there. He had put in there something about starting to work on that trail itself. However, we don't own any of the property there. That was all Fitzsimmons property. And that trail was put there with the purpose or the intention that when Fitzsimmons, that property at one time was going to sell and become a development. I don't remember if any of you guys were there then when we got the brownfield.
Yeah.
Remember we got that brownfield grant, or that developer got the brownfield grant and then he
Yeah.
backed off of everything?
Backed off.
So that was the intent of that trail, was to continue all the way over to Thorson Park. But we can't continue it until Fitzsimmons decides what he's doing with that land. Because there's no land there for us to, unless we buy it all.
That's the only thing we had in the 2019.
That's the only thing that was in there for parks.
We didn't have a trail in there from Forest Creek over to past.
That was supposed to be for 2018.
2018, like $5,000, something like that. What happened?
I don't know where they're at.
Okay.
He didn't do it, John.
It didn't get.
No,
I'm not so sure, it wasn't even in 2017. I'd have to go back and
I
look.
think it was last year,
I think it was 2017,
We
because
had
they
the
bought
culvert.
culverts and stuff.
for last year, and it didn't get done.
We haven't done it because the attorney dropped the ball and all that land has not been
Annexed in.
annexed from, well, it's annexed from Gary Brummer, but we had to do the Herzog part
Just floppy.
so that we could get all the rest of that land, get the plat all drawn up,
Okay.
so that we could go through there, because that's all Brummer's land still. But he'd given it to us, it just needed to be completed, and the attorney hadn't done it. So we're hoping, I mean, Matt's working on all that now, because the other ones kind of let it go.
And that's going well.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've stayed in touch with the townships and they've gotten the stuff back to Matt, so.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get that all done, and then maybe that can all be finished up. But we had to put a halt on it.
I assume none of that would be done this year, then when we get, some amount allocated, then
It's still there.
It's still there.
It's still there.
it just stays there until.
It was allocated actually out of the capital improvement fund, this capital improvement fund where I'm showing the $200,000 levy, but there's money in there, in the cash reserve part of it, there's money there to do that. I mean, from last year still, so.
Then there also was a discussion about just waiting until a developer does that, then they put the paths in free.
They would do the big trail, Lloyd, that comes from Forest Creek all the way across. This was just gonna be a short little trail kind of across the back end of Brummer's land and come down to 7th Street, so they can get to the sidewalk, just so they have access through there, because right now it just ends and goes nowhere.
Is that going through then the dirt path area, or where would it go through?
I think it comes across, where it crosses the creek, or where it comes into the Brummer land, it would just go kitty corner across to 7th Street. The trail you're talking about will continue on that road that's through there, that easement road. When the developer develops that land, the big trail will go along that and come all the way over to the regional park and through that whole area. But this was just a small trail that we could do ourselves, and just to put it in there so that people from Forest Creek or, could get over to the, to this side of town if they want to go to some of the playgrounds and stuff. One of the things, like if you look on the very first page of the expenditure budget worksheet, under the council section, under training and instruction, we upped that, it was 2,000 last year, but we upped it to 4,000 this year. We didn't know, with 2 new council members coming in. We haven't done a yearly planning meeting for a few years now, kind of a retreat type thing. We haven't done one of those for a few years, so we added money. It's something you can think about before November, if it's something you're gonna wanna do next year, with 2 new council members, possibly 2 new council members coming on board. Along with, so, yeah, go ahead.
Is that the training where, what was his name?
We used to have Richard Fersman come, but we would have to bring somebody in or we could bring somebody in.
And then we also have the training that we can do through League of Minnesota Cities.
The newly elected. Training, yeah, that would, so I've got like the league conference, elected officials conference.
But the league has some free training for workshop kind of stuff.
Do they do?
Yes. Yeah.
So we put it there, but we can, I mean, that can always be lowered if we don't think we're gonna use it.
On the newsletter, were we looking at a different option on that still?
Yes. Justin and I just sat and talked about that today a little bit.
Okay.
She has purchased, we probably have 2 or 3 more months of the little bills yet. So,
For the end of the year.
yep, so we're gonna start researching it and get some information for you. She, from what I've told her about my experience with what we did in another city I was at, she thinks it probably is gonna be a lot less money, because she said the newsletter can run to be quite expensive, so
Yeah.
you'll get that 1 page, both sides, every month if we go the route that we did.
And that way they can see the new events that are coming, instead of, where'd the newsletter go? Kind of, yeah, okay.
And if you wanted to do a separate page so that there's actually another page in there, you can do it at the, I mean, you can pay for it, but.
Yeah, but it's, and then what
But
you
it's not
do is,
cheaper.
depending on who's on that page, you can bill that organization if they want something on there. We'll just have to, speaking from experience, we'll have to come up with a policy for that insert, because you can only put certain things on there. The city is only allowed to put certain things on there, so we'll have to establish. But you can get that from, we just did one in Winstead, I can get that policy, and
Right.
we're not gonna rewrite something that we did through the League of Minnesota Cities, so,
Okay.
okay.
In Public Works, so, let's see. About the 5th page in, it starts out 101, 43, 100. If you go partway down the page, it says street repair and maintenance and crack fill and seal coating. So, we used to do like a lot of our own crack filling, but we've been running into problems because you fill it with that rubber stuff, you rent the machine, you buy all the tar or the rubber that goes in it, and 2 years later it all peels right back out, like our parking lot out here, that's all peeling out. So Wayne knows of a company, or found a company that will actually come in, blow all them cracks out, and cut it so it's perfect, seal it, and then put that seal coat stuff over it. So each year as we do the seal coating on all the different streets, we'll do that, the crack fill at the same time. So we upped that. We used to budget like 80,000, and then we dropped it a couple years ago to 50, so we upped that to 75, so we can do all of that, because it'll preserve the roads a lot longer by doing it that way.
What does our landscaping materials go for?
Under,
Park and Rec, it's, E230, 45, 100.
let me see what we got under there. Trying to think of what goes in there.
Is any of the Highway 12 redevelopment? No.
No. It's just things we buy for, like if we have to change out. Trying to think of what we put in there. Have we spent anything this year?
190, 175.
So whatever we did, it was pretty minimal.
Right, right,
I guess you like landscaping timbers and stuff.
right.
Yeah, I don't even remember, I couldn't even tell you, I'd have to go back and look to see what was put in, what I put in there when I was,
Okay.
what they bought in the park, then what I put in landscaping.
Do we do anything like on the Highway 12? Do we have anything set aside for all that?
That has all come out of EDA in the past. So,
It looks horrible.
it looks horrible.
It looks bad.
Does it need to be trimmed back or what?
It needs to be something out there. I mean, the weeds, the mulch, everything, it just looks bad. So, just a thought for park, for Public Works.
Yeah, that was all, a lot of that was done with that stuff from MnDOT grant of some kind each year.
Yeah, they used to get like $5,000.
Yeah, Joanne, what was it?
Yeah.
It was a Beautify project, something.
Yeah.
Every
MnDOT
September
gave
they
us-
would do it.
MnDOT gave us money every year to do another section,
Beautification,
we planted
Yeah.
trees and they put in those gardens and, but they don't give you money to maintain
To
them.
maintain it, yep.
Make America beautiful, but you maintain it.
Yep.
Anybody see anything that caught their eye or have a question on, or? Just keep in mind, this is only preliminary. So even, if you approve it on the September meeting at this rate, we have till November, December actually, to go through and cut whatever you think we don't need, or,
And I know Wendy had mentioned this already, I'm not sure if you were here yet, but you always want to go high, because you can always bring it down.
Yep.
You always want to go high.
the only way you can raise it, so if you go in, say, at a 2% increase and all of a sudden realize there's something that we have to fix that's gonna cost us a lot of money, you have to petition to the state to raise it. And it's gotta be pretty bad in order for them to raise it, so your preliminary one, if you keep it high, you can always come down before you certify the final.
It might cost us more out there on that walking path on 25 with that house right next to where it's gonna go.
Yep,
We might end up having to buy quite a bit of property.
that's why we added that extra 100,000 in there, because if we wanna do Emerson,
Yep.
we wanna make sure we have enough money in there to cover Highway 25 and not deplete that fund by fixing the street out there.
Yep.
So that's why we increased it by the 100,000.
So maybe a general question for you, Wendy. I mean, what's the main difference between the 230 expenditures and the 235? I see some of them have the same, basically the same nomenclature, it's only different, and some of them have funding and some of them don't.
So the 235 is park development.
Okay.
So the state of Minnesota says if you charge developers a park development fee, so they can give you 10% land
Yep.
that you're willing to accept, or you can say, no, we want the money.
Money, yep.
If they give you the money, you have to set it aside from your actual established parks, like this, when I said that was kind of our checking account is a 230 account.
Okay,
You have to set their funds aside in a separate account to develop parks with it.
okay.
So the 235 money was from the developers as we went through all the development phases, that was there to build parks with.
Okay.
And maintain them.
No,
No.
you can only use it to build, you have to maintain it out of the other fund.
It's where like some of these other ones have, repair maintenance or just, improvements other than buildings. I'm just looking for small things that we see, like you're saying. And, obviously when things get broken, it's not a big deal, but a lot of smaller ticket items or something like relocation of equipment or something like that would come out of our general type 230 fund.
And relocating equipment is probably more expensive than buying new.
Probably. But I'm just giving something that's not
Yeah,
repaired, but
right.
that's still just a
Yep.
general.
Yep, yeah.
Wayne,
I don't know what it's gonna do.
for quite some time, we've been told that there's money set aside for ponds treatment and maintaining ponds.
Stormwater?
Is that, that's the other.
That's enterprise funds.
There isn't much in there either, is there?
Stormwater doesn't have a whole lot in it because we don't charge a whole lot.
Right.
We charge about $3 per household per month or something. I'm not sure how this will, like say this was the final levy and you were to approve this. I don't know how much of an increase it would be on people's taxes because I haven't heard, first of all, what the assessed value, how much the increase on everybody's assessed value is this year. For a while it was like 10%, but I don't know if it's backed off now a little bit, now that it's getting back in line with the market or what it's at. But I do know we added, usually it takes 2 years for the housing to catch up, so the houses that were built in 2017 are the ones that will be on the 2019 tax roll, and we added about $8 million worth of new homes. So which increases our tax capacity by about 80-some thousand. But I don't know how much of an increase, like say your house itself, the value last year versus this year, I don't know how much of an increase it is. So I don't know if the new homes will be enough to offset the, any kind of a tax increase. At 10%, I don't, probably not, but, if it were to come down, it might offset it even, I don't know. I haven't been able to get any of that from the county. They generally don't have that until late October, early November. They'll give me an estimated tax capacity, but they won't give it to me this early.
From what Wendy and I have looked at while we were doing this, we are hoping that it won't. I think that a misconception among residents is when their taxes go up, they always just assume it's always from the city, and that's not the case. Sometimes that's because of school district or county too. So as we get information, we'll just make sure we keep you.
But part of it is from the city.
If you were to do this.
We're seeing that right now.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm looking at is that you want us to tighten our belts. Where has the city tightened its belt?
It's only been the last couple of years that we've even had a tax increase. For 5 or 6 years, we were at 0%. We stayed level for about 5 or 6 years.
Well, I've been here for 2 years, and I'm seeing it. I've seen it each year that I've been here.
Yes, we did. We increased it last year a little bit and the year before a little bit.
So what I'm saying is you want people to be moving in, right? Well, you can't keep increasing taxes. As city council members, we got to be looking at this. Can't keep increasing taxes and think people are going to want to move in here. At least not the middle incomes. You might, the richer people, the people that are going in over there, what is that, Wood? I can't remember the name of the development there.
Whitetailing?
Yeah, Whitetail. Yeah, I mean, you got those houses they're expecting, but your middle of the road, your middle income people, they're not looking, I mean, our taxes are pretty high right now, and if you keep increasing them, people are going to look at it and go, well, this isn't really favorable market for us, because right now you're not real close to the city, you're not a suburb, and people have to travel a long way. If they move out here, they have to travel a long way to go to work. I mean, I went from having a 10-minute drive, 5-minute drive to work to having a 40-minute drive to work when I moved out here. But I love the area. But I don't know if I love the area with the taxes keep going up.
But we also have to look at maintaining, I mean, the city has to be run as a business too, and we have to maintain, if they keep increasing, the electricity, and they keep increasing the price of gas for us to operate our vehicles. So we try to maintain that, and like I said, if you go through this and look at what we had in the 2018 budget versus the 2019 budget, there's not a lot of difference.
But there's no place you can cut, there's no waste. There's no place you want to cut. I know that. I mean, that's just the way it is for people that work in the city. There's no place that you want to cut, but there is no place you can cut.
But there's not
realistically
waste. There's not waste, because whatever we don't spend stays in the general fund, which then will offset any projects you do. If you like the Highway 25 project that we want to do with MnDOT, there's money in that general fund now to pay for that, to get that trail built and to get the highway improved, without having to do a levy and charging everybody more money on their taxes.
But now you're talking a trail on Highway 25. Is that something the citizens of Montrose want, or is that something, just certain people want?
It's been expressed to the city council before. People that live down in Rockbrook, down where Bruce at, there is no trails for them to get up here. So if they want to come and not drive, do you really, how much shoulder there is for them to walk along, to push a stroller along, to bike along? There isn't.
That's been a need for
years. It's been something that, I mean, I've been on the council basically 6 years, and it's been something way back when I first got on that was been discussed and working on, and at that time we knew MnDOT was going to be doing the Trunk 25.
And that's why we set it off to the side until they did that, to try to save some money.
Yep.
So I mean, it's something that's been in the talks for
years.
5-6+ years that I've been exposed to.
Longer than that, Ben, because when they redone the sewer line on the west side of the trailer park down there, they got an easement from Cardinal to go put the new sewer line in down there because everything was backing up down there. And I don't know what happened with the engineers or how the easement went or not, but the contract for a walking path was supposed to have been on that same area down there all the way back to Rockbrook.
And
Okay.
Cardinals wouldn't give us
What's screwed up, I don't know.
Cardinals wouldn't give us
Yeah.
permission to do it.
Easement on it.
They gave us an easement to bury a line, but they would not give us an easement to put a trail on it.
Okay.
That's what happened with that part.
But funding was already there for it?
No.
No,
The first time we talked about it too, though, MnDOT put a stop to it because they said they were gonna widen the road and they didn't want to have to redo
Yeah.
that, so.
So we held off until
That was the
MnDOT.
reason too why it was set aside.
And we're still 12th or 13th, I think, in Wright County from a city tax standpoint, you know.
I live in the
More
township.
expensive
and-
places to live, I guess.
I live in the township and mine are not necessarily cheap.
Yeah.
Believe me.
And I live in Riverview, and they're not cheap. Because they did all the infrastructure and then the market crashed, so we're paying for that. And our water sewer bill is extremely high compared to all of the areas around here. I can tell you with all sincerity that Wayne, Wendy, and I did our due diligence and we went through every single item on this budget that you're looking at, every single line we did. And we tried to cut, now I'm not gonna say we tried, we did, we cut where we could cut. We didn't try, we did.
And you look at another thing, when Waverly hooked up the city sewer down here in Montrose and everything, Waverly's paying for city sewer down here, but the people in Waverly think they're buying water from us up there in Waverly, and they figure that's why their water bills are so high. And you try and explain it to some of these people, it just does not work, and you can't explain nothing to them to really get the idea. And I tell them, you're not buying water from us, it's your city sewer that's coming down here to our sewer plant.
So nothing's going in that direction, it's all coming.
Right.
We're downhill.
And like I said, the other thing you have to remember too is this is the preliminary budget. This is proposed. All we have to go on is what we've spent in the past years and what we've spent so far through like June of this year. If, you know, once we get going on the final budget in like around November, if we go back, I mean, we sit down and we go back through everything and we look again and see, well, geez, you know, we haven't spent anything really in this fund for a number of years. There's really no reason to have this. But at this point, it's all just kind of a guessing game for
And we
preliminary.
might have to, later on down the road, expand our sewer plant down there, right?
At some point, but that would come out of our enterprise
Yeah,
funds,
right.
which we have an expansion fund for that.
And we did sit, all three of us together at a table, and if there was any projects that we thought we might have to do, we identified those, and so, like I said, we did our due diligence and
And use the capital
Preparing
improvement
this.
plan that was approved a couple years ago.
Yep.
So we used the capital improvement plan.
I get nobody wants to increase their taxes.
No.
But like, what do you want to see cut out of here? Like, what would you be willing to sacrifice that the city does to keep them the same or decrease them?
Okay, how many parks do we have in Montrose? 9 parks. How many residents?
3,200.
Yeah.
Technically, we have one out in our development, that's just grass.
Are you over here off the hill?
No, you're
No,
Forest
Hill
Creek.
Streets and Forest Creek are both just green space.
Yeah, and that's like, it's one of those things like, okay, do we really need a park there? It's not really, I've never seen anybody in there.
I mean, specifically talking about Hill Street, I mean, that was, as part of the development, like when Wendy was saying, that was basically as part of an agreement when it was developed, a certain percentage of that developable land has to be donated to parks.
Yep.
And that discussion has been had to say whether or not we allow, you know, possibly the residents that back up to that park to basically purchase that land. But I can't remember when the last time we actually talked to residents out there, they wanted to leave it as is, as green space, as kind of a public green space.
The kids play there.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Oh, yeah, ball field.
Yeah, they all play ball.
I mean, we looked at that one to say, yeah, it's not much of a park.
Well, there's, okay, I've lived here for the 2 years, and I think I've seen it used twice.
Which
Are
one?
you talking,
That one on Hill.
The hill.
I live right off of there.
The little
So I
green
drive
space.
by it all the time, I look back, I see it all the time. Matter of fact, my road goes right down into it.
And every time I walked it, I've never seen anybody over there either.
I've been here for 2 years. To me, it's one of those things that's like, okay, why are we spending money on that?
Well, we're not really, it's just green space.
The only thing we're doing
We
is
mow it.
maintaining
All we
the
do is
mowing.
mow it. That's all we do. There's no park there, it's just people pretty much.
We were gonna take the rocks out of there for them too, that were in the big rocks, and
Well,
they
that's
begged
the
us,
complaint.
they begged us not to because their kids played on them.
Yeah, that's the
We
home,
left it.
home base there.
So you'd rather get rid of those green spaces, just say, sell them to somebody and be done with it? I mean,
Well, it's money that we really don't need to spend because people don't use it. There's a lot of parks that are more usable. With playgrounds, we've got the, you know,
It's
right,
a park.
not a block away from it. Well, it's a green space, but it's used as a park. It says park on the sign.
Okay, we'll give Forest Creek. I don't have any way technically to get back to town. I said, I would love to have playground equipment in there for my kids to play in.
Yeah, that's a common thing I hear in Forest Creek when I go talking to people, is
Where is Forest
the
Creek?
park.
Right next to Whitetail.
Okay.
Down Clementon. Just golf course area.
There are a
Oh, okay.
ton of kids out
We
there.
were just there the other day. The
Disc
first time we
golf.
finally found the disc golf course.
This golf course is on the west side of the road. Forest Creek is on the east side of the road. I think there's a map in them.
No, like I said, it was the first time we went down, we found it the other day. We were actually looking for it, so we decided we wanted to see where it was. Nice course.
Oh, you know, a lot of people want everything. They have to realize that somebody has to pay for that, right? Yeah. So.
It is important to remember too, when I worked for the city of Delano, I was instrumental in helping with a housing study that they did. It was quite extensive housing study. And what came out of that for the entire Wright County is that when people are looking at a community, the number one and two things that they're looking at are parks and trails. So.
And we did a housing study, probably been about 5-6 years ago, remember Michelle Joe did one?
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty much the top priority here was parks and trails.
It still is. You see it all over social media daily.
Parks and trails and a grocery store.
Highway 25 is a big one. They're getting a trail up there. So, yeah.
I didn't care about a grocery store.
That was always the number one things on their parks and trails, grocery
Grocery
store.
store.
I want a gas station in elementary school. That's all I cared about.
But yeah, close enough to Buffalo, that don't matter.
That's what we figured.
But that seemed to be the top thing.
That was one of the things we were worried about when we moved here, was a grocery store, and then we realized how really close Buffalo is.
7 miles.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
and Delano's the same distance and Watertown's 10. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we could get one, but
Why?
you're gonna have to pay up for it so much for everything in there that you're just gonna wanna go to somewhere else to buy it anyway, and Walmart's 9 miles away.
Yeah.
Didn't Waverly try
Well,
to
there's a
get them
Cub
out
and
of
a
business?
Walmart.
Well, that guy had that thing going for 40, 50 years, I bet, and then he finally, just to the point, he's like, I don't order enough of anything to make money, and so.
He
Yeah, but that
retired.
shut that down when the bank went down to the highway and the liquor store went down to the highway. They closed up all them places in Waverly. There used to be 3 hardware stores, a meat market, and
Three
grocery stores and all that. But when the bank went down on the highway and the liquor store went down on the highway, that shot Waverly down to 2.
Most
Oh, yeah.
town
There's a
stores,
lot of movies in that.
like Dollar General doesn't look at it that
Drugstore.
way, but most stores, like say you were looking at getting a Coborn's. The majority of them will not even look at you until you have at least 25 rooftops.
Yep.
And we've only got about 1,100, 1,200 maybe at the most. And most of them won't even, they won't even.
Hey, the Dollar General is convenient for
Yeah.
anything little you need
Yep.
when you do grocery
Yep,
shopping.
yep.
I'm good with
Because most of them,
that.
yeah, most of them won't even. Yeah.
You know, the thing is that we, as a resident, okay, I'm saying as a resident, I love the small town, you know. And, I mean, I know we want to put parks, I know you want to make sure the parks are maintained, and a lot of these roads are not that busy that it wouldn't be that big of a deal to, I mean, granted, 25, yeah, you don't want to be crossing 12 or doing, going down 25. I can understand that one. But a lot of these, you know, you're looking at trails to go to every park. Well, if people know where the parks are, these roads aren't that busy. It's not that big of a deal to ride your bike down the road to get there, to walk down the road.
Ride your bike, walk, run, do whatever you want down Clementa.
Yep.
And tell me
I
how
didn't-
many
I didn't
cars
see you. Some of
go
them-
under 40 mile an hour. You can
Yep.
count that on one finger.
I ride my bike down Clementa.
I drive down
My
Clementa.
wife jogs down Clementa.
I drive down Clementa every day at 35, and I can't tell you a car. I've had cars honking at me, flipping me off for driving
Oh.
35.
I know. I know
So-
people drive pretty fast. I'm not even looking at that. Isn't that Mayhill, May Township or Mayhill Township?
Maryville.
Maryville
No,
Township.
that's the
No.
that's
City
the
owns
city where it's
Clementa.
paved. That's the city's.
We only
You go all the other
the
way,
streets.
50 miles an hour on gravel.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I-
That's because that's county there.
Yeah.
That's township.
Yeah.
I can understand the part you wanting a trail, something like that, but I mean, you're talking about going in that Thor's Park there, that's
Thorson.
right, Thorson Park, that's right there on that cul-de-sac. You don't need a path going there. People can ride their bikes to that.
But the-
I'm sorry.
I can just tell you that the reasoning behind that was at one time there was going to be a developer that was going to take over that land there. So we would have gotten the trail at that time from them. That's why it was established, or why it was in the capital improvement plan, but the developer backed out of that project.
He was gonna build a bridge to go over,
The little,
because I was on
Yep.
planning and zoning
Yep.
at the time when I requested a bridge, so our maintenance guys could get over on the other side to cut whatever they had to cut over
On
on
that
that side.
wetland
And
area,
it's all
yeah.
down in black and white someplace, I don't know
but then
where.
he backed out, but
he
then the
backed out.
developer backed out. So that's why that trail was actually even defined in the capital improvement plan, but the developer left, so it won't be put in until then because we don't have the land.
Yep.
So, and that's why I said that was the only thing in 2019 that was even in there for parks.
I'd have to look at the park and trail plan, but, I mean, there are reasons we haven't done a lot of things that are in the plan, and even stuff we have set money aside for that is now in the general fund is because we just, it may have been budgeted at one point, but then by the time we got to, actually look at it, it didn't make sense anymore, so we didn't do it.
Then do you take from that general fund and cut the taxes on it?
That would be for next year if there was enough built up in there,
I mean,
it could be.
that's the type of stuff we need. I mean, because you take stuff from here and you move it into the general fund, you're taking, I don't know how much you got.
If it was budgeted in parks, it stays in parks. If it's budgeted in the, like the 101 we call the general fund, if it's budgeted there, it stays there. If it's budgeted in the park fund, it stays in the park fund. So there's, so that you have money in those funds to maintain them and to do things with.
But like you said, that could be offsetting next year's taxes.
That's how it should be. Not, it should just stay in the fund and then we continue raising the stuff. And
You look at it every year. I mean, if there's plenty of money in there, you don't raise taxes. If you think it warrants raising a little bit, raise them a little bit. I'm surprised when taxes don't go up at least 3% every year. And I've been here a few times where, taxes didn't go up. And I was surprised.
It's been a couple of years where your taxes actually went down.
Oh, I don't pay attention that much. Still, the county went up anyway.
Maybe not when you were here, I'm not sure.
But, I mean, I understand, nobody wants to pay more taxes, and we don't want to spend any more money than we think we have to.
well, I hear you. But a lot of people's wages aren't always going up. And yet you want to raise taxes every year.
But we still have to maintain and repair,
I don't think we
and
ever-
somehow that has to happen. As we said, I think I've been around here going on 7 years on the council. It's been the last 2-3 years that we've only raised taxes. And now we have parks and streets that need repairs, just infrastructure everywhere, and
It all boils
That's something we want.
down to fiscal responsibility, right? At least we don't live in Dixon, Illinois. I don't know if you saw that story where the city comptroller embezzled $55 million from the city of a little over 5,000 over a 20-year period. She lived high in the hog and everybody thought that she got an inheritance.
For how many years?
20 years.
And never got
She
caught.
wrote all the checks. She had bank accounts that nobody knew about. It was on Dateline just the other day. Yeah, she's in jail. She's in jail for about 25 years. Yeah. Well, they sued the bank because they were cashing checks for her made out to treasurer. Now, I worked at a bank years ago, and there's no way if somebody came in with a check made out to treasurer, I can't.
Well, they must not have to be audited like you do in
I was just gonna say,
Minnesota.
because we
Well,
get
that is-
audited.
If we made
The
a check
auditing
out to
company wind
treasurer,
up having to pay the city $35 million for their screw-ups.
if we wrote a check out to treasurer, they would definitely be going, what is this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I sat there with my jaw hanging. I couldn't believe that over 20 years, no one noticed.
Wow.
Well, that's just like Howard Lake Waverly School, and I worked up there as janitor. They had a woman working in the principal's office up there and everything, and her husband was getting a check every 2 weeks, and they never even worked for the school. Until I brought it up to the school board, and then they couldn't figure out why.
Yeah. Those things happen, I guess.
Wendy, I do want to thank you. Last year when we set up this budget meeting, I asked you, what are my taxes going to go up? Can you tell me approximately about $90, $95? And you were within about $6 of what it went up.
By November, when I know what the tax capacity is, it's pretty easy to, I mean, come close, but.
You were really
thank you.
close. Now granted, the taxes were way more than that. It was $400 and some, but the
But not
cities
cities.
was not even 100.
When I can tell you that the auditors for most cities and the state auditor recommend that every year the cities increase a little bit.
What, for Minnesota, they were,
Just for reserve.
Will costs go up?
Yep. And it's easier, the reason why they say that is because it's easier to do that way than all of a sudden.
It's 10-15%.
Right. So if you do it incrementally every year, then it's easier for taxpayers. I mean, think of you, I think of me, it's easier than a great big jump. Same thing with water and sewer rates. They want you to develop, I think you have to now develop a plan where you go up every year because costs go up. And because you have to maintain your infrastructure. Everybody's got to update it and improve it and increase it. And that's a given, you have to in the future. So you have to have that reserve to do that. Well, like I said, you'll be taking this home, and if you have questions, just get a hold of Wendy or I.
I just have some basic questions, but it's just, I mean, they're just, like I say, it's questions like what I'm asking you. It's just, because I'm new to Montrose, so it's like, I want to see what exactly is the thought process is behind some of this stuff.
And you can come in, you know, if you decide, if you got some questions, come in. It's actually easier if you come in and go to my office because I can bring it up then for the last couple of years and show you what we spent there, why we spent it there. I don't have a computer with me,
I
but
appreciate it.
yeah, no problem. It's all public, so.
Yeah. I hear you. It's hard to get in during your working hours though, because that's when I work.
You're at work. But you know, there's a lot of times we stay, so I don't know what time you get home from work, but.
Very. I barely made it here today. That's because I made them let me out.
I was late.
And I'm here at 7, I don't know what time you leave town.
I started at 3 this morning.
Okay, well, I'm not coming in at that early, so. That will not work. I'm
I
not coming-
started at 3 this morning. I left long before then.
I was gonna say, you can always come in the morning, but not at 3.
That's not every morning, but this morning was 3.
Are we discussing this?
If everybody's comfortable with it, we'll bring it then to the council at the September meeting. Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody? Okay. Okay, and our other business, what was going to be on there for sale?
We wanted to, first of all, we would like to start advertising for the 2 public works department employees that have resigned. So we'd like to get going on that this week, and we just wanted you to discuss it and let us know if you're okay with that.
Yes.
Yep.
Have we got the same postings that we had before?
Yeah,
You don't have to rewrite anything?
No.
Nope.
Just put it in the paper?
No.
And you're looking at a maintenance worker 1 and a maintenance worker 2, right? Because Jason was a 3, so we'll go back down now to 1 and 2.
And we didn't approve the 2 job description at the last meeting, just because we didn't have someone in that position. Wayne has already updated that in accordance with the other 2, and I'll be bringing that to you at the September meeting. But that doesn't, we would still like to move forward.
Yeah, right.
I guess the question I would ask, what are we gonna do different than we did in the past for retention? I don't know who can really answer that question.
Well, have you done exit interviews with both those gentlemen?
Michelle did.
I did, with one. The other one is still here until Friday.
Oh.
Well, I actually met with both of them on election day. Mhm.
Because I'm just, what can we do differently? And that might be something we ask them, like you said, when we're advertising or when we're interviewing. What's the reason they left? And like you said, what can we do differently if we maintain it? I don't know, it just seems like we've had a lot of turnover. Maybe it's just this summer and not previously, but.
Do you want to have that discussion? That's up to
Well, one of
you.
them's only been here 8 months, and he's,
Doesn't-
It just wasn't a good fit.
he doesn't like doing weekend rounds is one of his reasons.
He does, they don't like taking, as you all know, we have a new public works director. And previously, the public works director that we had was, although he was a great guy, he didn't, with the 2 unions, there's a lot of conflict. And so he didn't, the 49 union, which is our public works union, if the director wanted to help and assist in that department, there was a lot of conflict and threats of grievances. So there wasn't a whole lot of.
So like if Sean helped out.
Yep, I know.
There was.
Yeah.
And when we were really short, he was snowplowing.
Right. And so the same thing is going on right now. With Wayne, he has taken control of the department and getting things back in line to where it was. And the current, the employees that we had were not comfortable with that, the best way to put it. And so the direction, I don't know what the best way to put this is, but it was just difficult, the changes were difficult. Let's just put it that way. An example is a fence that needed to be repaired down at the wastewater treatment plant. Is something that has always been maintained by the wastewater treatment guys, but it's considered 49 work. So Wayne went ahead as the director and got those things repaired. Grievances were filed, and 2 employees felt it was better to just part their ways.
So we get back to the fence.
If you go that way.
The reason I had it repaired, it mysteriously opens by itself. It's happened several times. Last Friday we got here and it was open. And what I did was I had somebody come in, they're gonna come in and fix the fence. It needed a new chain. I was always the one that oiled it and greased it and adjusted the gate. And I did that this spring and the chain was shot. So I called them, I said, as long as you're coming out to do the fence, might as well throw a new chain on. But they got here early to put the chain on and still come to do the fence. They had it checked out because it opens and closes by itself. Shouldn't do that.
And there's also a part of the fence where there's a ladder that's up against the fence, so in order to get, if the power goes out, you have to climb the ladder and jump over. So Wayne had all of that repaired and had company come in and take care of them.
We're putting in a walk-through door, where if the power goes out, we have to climb the fence and go over it.
Now there'll be a gate that locks.
Because if the power's out, you can't open the power gate.
Yeah, unless you got some sort of battery backup or
Yeah.
something like that, which is.
Yeah, we have nothing, so it costs too much to put it in.
Mhm.
Cheaper to put a gate in, walk-through door.
But as far as like, you talked about, didn't want to pull weekend rounds, was that all played out in
It's
the
in the
job
job
description and all that?
You know
Yes,
that, you know
yes.
that when you apply and when you interview,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so every public works person does Thursday through Thursday, and it's like a 5-week rotate, 4-week, because there's 4. There's 5 public works, but Jess is not in that rotation, so, and they all know it, that's all discussed in the interviews.
Okay, so there's no big surprise,
No.
who has to do that?
Nope, and then they also go at the beginning of the year, they pick their holidays, so everybody knows the full year, what holiday they have. nothing is a surprise, no.
Okay, then I guess with the individual that has been here for a substantial amount of time, have you already had his exit interview, or is that
Yeah.
the main
Yep.
reason with that is mainly because of conflicts between I should say, the agreements and the way we're working between both unions? Or is that something that just, you guys are gonna have to kind of figure out a way to make it work?
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Right.
I just,
Most of the group, the two unions get along. It was mainly the one individual who didn't like, who didn't like the unions to get along. And he was the individual that left. I mean, in all reality,
I just don't want, things to keep it down, or if we think it'll be fine moving forward.
he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine moving forward.
Well, ever since that union got in here on both sides, it's nothing but headaches. A lot of bickering.
Yeah. One says the other can't do this, so.
It used to be more of a united team, but now that the unions are here, there's 49 work and then there's administrative work. But they all used to just cohesively work, and now they don't, unfortunately. And if they tried to, as I stated, a grievance was filed multiple times. So
Now might be a good time for them to consider disbanding their unions then.
Yeah.
That's up to,
Since you got all new people coming in.
it's a discussion for them to have as a group. The council cannot
Well, how many
persuade
people
them
are
one way or the other. What?
How many people are in the union?
Well, Public Works has 5. There's the 4 gentlemen that work out in the field, and then there's Jess who works at the front desk. And then the ASME group is these 3 right here, who are administrative supervisors. So further discussion, you'll be putting that in the paper. I think the deadline is tomorrow or something?
If we have it in by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we can make the Journal Press, and I think it's by Wednesday or Thursday to make the Herald. I mean, if we want to do it both of them, which we usually
Get
do.
on right away in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the League of Minnesota Cities?
We'll put it on the, Jess can put it on the league site, she knows how to do that.
And then Minnesota Rural Water.
Usually when we, Minnesota Rural Water, and then usually when we do the Journal Press, they also put it in that Drummer, the free paper. So we should pretty much hit every place.
On the website.
Of course,
or city
another
We'll put it
website.
on the website too.
Another thing that we're faced with, if you look in the paper, all the jobs now. That's why a lot of people, if they're not too happy, they're gonna be looking.
A lot of
There's all
competition.
kinds of jobs and
It's not.
paper, so it's not real easy to keep a lot of people.
I was gonna say, it's not like it was years ago where you have longevity.
It's called
A lot of-
loyalty.
A lot of people now, will change jobs every couple of years. Then there's some people that decide they're gonna life it, right?
Hey, 36 years with the same company, I know what you're saying.
I mean, times have changed, really. It's kind of the difference in
I know.
the.
Just one question. So you guys are working on the ordinance and stuff like that, so when does that plan on getting in effect for the ordinances so that you guys start enforcing them?
They're being enforced currently right now,
They are.
every day.
The zoning ordinance or what do you?
Yeah.
Which ordinance are you,
Grass ordinance.
Oh, yeah, we send letters out for that.
You got somebody in your neighborhood,
The city of Montrose.
we don't mow our lawn?
You guys going 10 feet behind my place that hasn't been for 30 years. You know where I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. This was supposed to have been done when Charlie Nelson was mayor and Justin Kangas was our engineer. That water would come from back behind the German restaurant that used to be back behind there, behind Jeff Peterson's, down behind David Arnold. When we get a lot of rain, everything floods out in David Arnold's place and everything, and that culvert was supposed to have been put back behind the car wash down there to go over to that pond, and then it runs over underneath Highway 12. And it never ever got looked at, and Charlie always told me, well, we'll get it done, we'll get it done.
They did that a few years back.
They did something there, but I don't know what they did.
Well, they cut the tree off because their culvert there's 6 inches off the ground because there's a tree stump underneath the culvert, so there's no way that once that water fills up to there, everybody's flooded out.
Yep. And that corner place there, from north of the car wash down there, when we had all that rain that time, then people had water in their basement up over my knees.
Yeah.
And they were gonna condemn that place because it was so full of mold and everything. Well, they hired somebody to come in and fix it. Well, the people that live there now, well, just a older couple and that, well, he passed away last Thursday, but she still lives.
They put that culvert
They're
in.
gonna cross
They,
it from-
they fixed that part though, Roy,
Yeah.
they dredged out that, we had that pond dredged out and then they put another culvert under the road.
To come
To-
over, yeah,
yeah,
but the
to-
one behind
but-
the car wash by
Yeah.
David Arnold's, that was never fixed. It got cut off right behind Jeff Peterson's up there and it just runs down the hill in behind David Arnold's in his shed and everything. He had water in there over 6 feet that time.
So what are you talking about mowing?
You guys own 10 feet on a hill, and, okay, as the water.
We do?
Yeah, you guys do, and,
That's a drainage.
I've been taking care of I've been taking care of my part, that goes to my property, because I had to haul in 12 yards just to get so my grass would grow. And, it's all trees, and it's supposed to be a ditch, I think you guys are planning on to drain from the back from Jeff X into that big holding pond. But if you do, it goes uphill.
Yep.
So it would be nice, I'd go in there and chop it all up myself, but you guys gotta get some grass in there because it corrodes. There is nothing but junk in there. And it's 10 feet that you guys own,
It's a mess.
and it's a mess.
Is that a drainage easement or?
I didn't know we
Drainage
owned.
part of, that's why I said.
No,
we
it
got-
actually belongs, it belongs to the city of Montrose. It's
Yeah.
not even an easement. You guys own it.
I
We're not
didn't know.
allowed-
I didn't know.
Me either.
You don't know nothing about that.
I don't know.
You were hired after that,
Yeah.
all took place back there and
In
everything.
1998 is when everything got screwed up.
When I talked to Justin from Bolton and Mink, and he said they fixed all that,
No,
so it should
that was
be.
never done.
And nobody ever
I'll take
looked,
him right down there and I'll call him a liar to his face. It was never done.
yeah, and there's
One of
that
the reasons
culvert,
why we got rid of Bolton.
but that culvert, if you go look at that culvert, it's kind of by where Mills and Sheds are and by
Yeah.
the realtor company. You move a little bit of brush and stuff like that, you can see that thing's 6 to 8 inches off the ground.
Water don't.
And water has to build up to that. By that time, it's flooding out everybody up there.
But they all need to hold water back. They said the elevation was set on that.
Well, the tree didn't help it.
No,
I was gonna say, it probably was that one time the tree
yeah,
maybe
because
pushed it
they
up.
said they
Yeah.
checked that here last year. Somebody had them back there.
Probably Sean.
Yeah.
Well, I walked back there with a gentleman, he couldn't do nothing
Never been
until spring and
fixed.
he never came back, so.
God, I can show you, well, Jim can show you too.
It was
back
the
there.
new development that you got.
Yeah, I don't know, he went there, nobody told him to, so that's why he never went back. Because then I talked to Justin, and Justin said that was all taken care of last year.
Justin was the guy that that okayed the
Bolton and
paving.
Mink.
Yeah, well, when I talked to him about that, he told me basically to get after, he doesn't answer to me, you know, and he answers to the board. I do not have nothing to say about his business.
When did he say this?
When I told him that what he was doing is just a joke, because the problem's in the back, not in the front. Because it also water runs down between Farmington and Fairmont. And when they were digging to put in the little tiles and stuff like that, they had to wait till the water quit running out of them, because that's how much they interrupted the ground, you know, and they only dug down that deep. That's how much water came out, so. And then, remember I came in there and I made a comment about the whirlybirds? You were there. They were as even as the height of what they had to take and pave. And I says, I bet you $10 they're gonna take and put oil over it and pave over it. And that's exactly what they did. Besides driving in my driveway and putting tar all over my new cement. And because they don't warranty their tar work, once it's down, they're done. Now,
Who's
that's
that,
another
Tours?
thing,
Millers did that. Millers did the paving.
Well, the tour
Yeah,
contract,
they were the general.
we still are holding money from the tour, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay him for a while.
I haven't, we're
Yeah,
still
'cause I
holding
mean,
money.
that's a
Don't
good
pay him
reason.
for that driveway then down here either, where Bob Hunter had that house put in down there. The tour was in there digging and grading all that back part out for the trailer park down there, all that concrete where you drive in, everything's all busted up and
That was years ago.
Yeah, and
Yeah, well,
I asked
that's-
Justin about that too, and he says, oh, it ain't their fault.
That I don't know about, but this is the Montrose
I
Meadows
know.
project, we haven't.
It's
pulled
stuff
anything yet.
that you're getting into now with this down there and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and what he was told, and what I was told way back, such and such, and never got accomplished, you know,
We're gonna have to figure out if we really own land.
figure out how to get it fixed. That's why
Okay.
I told him, we got a new city engineer now, we can go down there and look at it and see what the project would be and see how it could be solved.
Yeah, because I kind of looked at it and had it lasered and stuff like that for you guys to take and hook that into the holding pond. You'd have to take and haul in 3 feet of fill all the way in the back, otherwise the holding pond will drain into the back people's backyards.
Is this something you and Sean could go over?
Yeah.
If you just go over by the Millhausen's
Yeah.
shed and walk where that ditch goes, and you look where the culvert is, and it's self-explanatory. There used to be a ditch there, you know, and that's never been maintained.
But all those ponds are made to hold water,
But this isn't even a pond.
because there's just a little loop where it goes from the pond over to the culvert to go out, right?
There's a little, well, it's kind of grassy, swampy, but that's not.
It's like an overflow because the pond is already there. And it comes from those backyards through, right?
Yeah, and that's where, see, the only spot it can go is there.
Right.
And
So what part of that, where that is, does the city own?
if you go between 330 Fairmont to the back of the yard, you'll see the hill with all the shrubs, and there's kind of like a little ditch there. You guys own 10 feet. Found the sticks in it when I was looking for my surveyor sticks and stuff like that.
I guess I was never told that.
I don't know that either. I
Well-
have no idea.
A lot of people, and that was surveyed, I think, out like that from when Young Charlie, well, 98,
Yep.
when that place was built and stuff like that. And it's not a right of way, it's city property. And I thought that was the most stupidest thing I heard. If you look like on my house and the neighbor's house, you can see how everything's washed away, and where the dirt used to be, it's just dropping down.
Well, I can tell you when I started here in 97, that development was already going in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was started in probably 95.
Yep.
And at that time, the city had an engineer called Westwood Engineering out of Buffalo, and they had no clue. That's why they got rid of them and got Bolton and Mink. So that probably was all designed with Westwood Engineering, not Bolton and Mink.
Yeah, but
And so I don't know, to tell you that I didn't know, if they got 10 feet of land back there for the
Why would the
city,
city
it must have came out of that development at some point, and
you know,
didn't even know we owned
I thought
it.
that was kind of, and the best part about it, it's landlocked.
yeah, well, as I said, I'm sure the developer did that, and Westwood Engineering said, oh, sure, that's fine, and we didn't know anything about it.
But I do think this is something that we're not gonna be able to comment on tonight or
No.
to
It
fix,
would be nice just
because
so that you guys, you know, you might have to take and get some money for that. It's because it's just, you're having the same problem that another one of their complaints is down by the, used to be the old VFW by the drainage ditch there and stuff like that. That's still a sore with a lot of people. Yeah,
That, there wasn't even a city engineer at the time that was put in, so
yeah, I know.
they just did whatever they wanted to.
But I mean,
Cities
that's
didn't have
another
engineers
complaint.
then.
I mean, just those two little projects could be a lot of money, but you could, if you use common sense and put in drain tile and re-drain tile it, it would save you a lot more.
so
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, we do have one thing. Do you want to bring that up? Oh. So Christmas falls on a Tuesday this year. So we were wondering, the employees were wondering if we could be closed Monday and Tuesday, because a lot of people go out of town. A lot of people start their Christmas Eves at noon. They would either just take vacation, comp, or go without pay. I mean, they'd have to do one or the other. It wouldn't be a paid holiday. But I can't imagine we're gonna be busy.
No.
Like 4th of July week, we could probably have counted the number of people that came in on one hand, because everybody goes out of town. So I'm sure with Christmas falling on a Tuesday, it's gonna be the same thing. Because most places are closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but what's that?
New Year's Eve is gonna be
It'll be
another
New Year's
short one for
Eve.
you guys.
New Year's Eve is not a big deal if we're sitting here and nobody comes in, oh well, but, because, I
We
mean,
start early, right, Lynn?
yeah, we could. But Christmas Eve, a lot of people, a lot of the employees start their Christmas Eves already around noon,
Yeah.
or they go out of town.
We thought people go out of town
Oh, yeah.
to visit families, so that way they can stay through the
So
Christmas holiday.
some of them are asking already, so we thought we would check and see what everybody thought, if that would be okay, and, because then we can make sure everybody knows that we're gonna be closed both
See, ours
days.
was automatically, our union had them off as paid holidays.
Yeah, Christmas Eve's not a paid holiday
Same
for
way
us,
with a
but
Friday after Thanksgiving.
that we do have because we
Yeah.
switched Columbus Day, we stay open on Columbus Day so we can have the Friday after Thanksgiving off.
Yeah, so, I mean,
And we'll just put it on the consent agenda for approval, so people
Okay.
know.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Other than that,
That it? Everything covered? Any other
Anything
questions,
else?
anybody?
You guys got any
You guys
questions?
got anything?
No, I just need to digest some of this before I have.
and we are, I told you, I can't express that enough to you, that we are here all the time to answer
You have been
questions.
very helpful, I have no complaints.
Good, great.
You've been very helpful, thank you.
Okay, can I call for an adjournment?
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
One second.
All in favor? Opposed? Meeting's closed.
Thank you very much, everybody. Get home before the storm starts, it's kind of looking like it out there.
Michelle, you have some.